Welcome to What is Crypto? I'm Matt and this is Crypto. Today I'm going to be talking about Kaspa. I'm going to do a quick talk about the macro and then I'm going to focus on what Kaspa has been doing, and I'm going to look at a bunch of enormous wallets that are continuing to stack Kaspa. So if you want to hear the latest with Kaspa, stick around to the end of the video, like, comment, subscribe. Also got a free Discord, 100% free to join. I'll leave a link in the description, so scroll down, click the link, and I'll see you there. Cheers, legends. Let's get straight into it. Alrighty, so having a look at the chart, so not an enormous amount to talk about. Kaspa ran up super strongly in 2023. Over 2024, pretty much by and large, it chopped between 10 cents and 19 cents, and then it broke down out of this range. Now, one of the reasons why it broke down out of this range was a massive Bitcoin dump. Bitcoin leads the markets, and when Bitcoin dumps, altcoins follow Bitcoin. So not surprisingly, when Bitcoin started dipping, putting in massive dips up to 20% multiple times, that altcoins got absolutely battered. Now, Kaspa was no exception, broke down out of this range, and since then, we have been in a falling wedge pattern. However, there is some good news. We are coming up to major areas of support. We did just tap down this large area of support at 5.2 cents, and we have a huge amount of support between the level that we tapped at 5.2, 5.3, all the way down to 4.2. So if you can get Kaspa around this range, there is a significant amount of strength, and I do fully expect Kaspa to hold the line here well. Now, what I want to see is obviously for us to break out of this falling wedge pattern, and then first key level that we want to reclaim is that 10.3 cent mark. After we can reclaim that, then we can start talking about higher prices. But for now, really, we just need the markets to sort themselves out with all of the stuff that's been going on in the greater macroeconomic space. This definitely isn't a Kaspa specific market bleed. This is all of the markets getting battered pretty heavily. One of the things that I am liking to see is we are putting in a bullish divergence here. You can see that we did put in a couple of lower lows here, and on our RSI, we are putting in a higher low. So it is a bullish divergence, can be an indicator that the pain is nearly over. Now, a lot of this is going to depend on what happens with Bitcoin and what happens with the markets in general. That's just what I'm seeing on Kaspa at the moment, not an enormous amount more to talk about. Really, we need to follow Bitcoin, and we need Bitcoin to break out, ideally first reclaiming 81K, then 87, 88K, before reclaiming that 91K mark. And after that, the bulls are going to be back in charge. One of the things that I do want to talk about is the US dollar. So this red or maroon line indicates the US dollar strength, so the DXY. Now, as we can see, when the US dollar starts to bleed, it is good for risk on assets. Now, when the US dollar starts to gain strength, you can see down here on the Bitcoin chart, it usually is bad for Bitcoin and therefore bad for risk on assets and altcoins. And once again, as the US dollar then starts to bleed, it is good for risk on assets. And you can see massive run-ups here. So these have coincided with our 2017 bull run, our 2021 bull run, and as they started coming down, we did get some life in the markets. However, they didn't come down as far as we were hoping early on. That is due to inflation, a bunch of other things. The US dollar held pretty darn strong, and it held this level. So unlike in 2017-18, where we did retest these lows, currently the US dollar has showed significantly more strength. Now, what we are seeing though is we are seeing the US dollar starting to drop, and if the US dollar breaks down below these levels and starts to plummet, that is going to be good for risk on assets. As the US dollar index rises, so the US dollar rises, simply put, it's going to be more expensive for other countries to access the dollar. There's going to be less money in the markets, and this is going to drain liquidity from risk on assets first, like crypto. As the US dollar falls, it becomes cheaper for everyone else in the world. So a weaker dollar improves market liquidity, and then risk on assets prosper. So we want to see a weaker US dollar for risk on assets to prosper. We also want to see the SPX start to show a little bit more strength. So the US stock market, now we have had our worst day in the US stock market for a number of years. So we had a 21% drop over the space of a few weeks. The last time we had such a rapid, quick drop was back when we had that COVID crash where we fell 38%. So currently one of the worst days in the stock market in recent memory. However, with the US dollar falling and the M2 money supply and global liquidity increasing, in my personal opinion, it is only a matter of time before risk on assets catch a bid once more. Anyway, that's me talking about the macro. Now let's talk about Kaspa, the reason that you're here today. So as of April 1st, their hard fork node version is out. Now their mainnet Crescendo update is due to be released on the 5th of May. This transitions from 1 block per second to 10 blocks per second. So in comparison to Bitcoin is 1 block roughly every 10 minutes and Kaspa will be 10 blocks per second. So yeah, pretty crazy difference. And the 1 block every 10 minutes is one of the main reasons that Bitcoin has trouble scaling. Now that's why there is a need for that peer-to-peer payment solution. And Kaspa, when the mainnet goes live, will make roughly 6,000 blocks for every block made by Bitcoin. Have a think about that. 6,000 blocks per every 1 block. So yeah, enormous things come into Kaspa over the next month. And another couple of big integrations for Kaspa. Crypto Autos is now accepting payments in Kaspa. So this further gives credibility to the fact that Kaspa is seen as a currency. Now, if you're not familiar with Crypto Autos allows you to buy different cars or automobiles with cryptocurrency. So yeah, they target high-end luxury vehicles and they let you pay in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and now they accept Kaspa. They do accept a bunch more, but I do think it further gives credibility to the fact that Kaspa is seen as a payment solution. Kaspa's also started sponsoring athletes, and it's also just got a new exchange listing being listed on Hybit Official. It does have a Coinbase and Binance futures listing. We still do want that spot listing from Coinbase and Binance, but yeah, futures listings for those and a bunch of other exchanges: Bybit, BitGet, Mexi, Gate.io, KuCoin, BingX, Kraken, Bitmark, LBank, XT, and there's a bunch of other exchanges they are listed on. So yeah, they still are working towards a few big exchanges, and those will be massive catalysts coming up in the future. Also, Kaspa, the amount mined is going up. It is now over 90% mined. So the fact that there is only 10% left to mine is another bullish point for Kaspa being a proof of work. You do have to mine Kaspa. Now there is a finite supply. There will only ever be 28.7 billion Kaspa, and nearly 26 billion of that has already been mined. So that finite supply is running out and there is very minimal dilution to come. Also, if we're going to have a look at the top 10 wallet holders, there has been some shift. Looking at wallet number 4, they've just added over 5.3 million Kaspa. And if we want to have a look at wallets number 18 and 19, there's some pretty cool stuff going on. So having a look at these, you can see that every 30 minutes, they are buying $450 to $500 worth of Kaspa. This is the definition of DCA. Now this goes down and it goes back a long way. And they've been continuing to buy every 30 minutes for a long period of time. And it's also quite a similar story when we're looking at wallet number 19. So wallet number 19 is buying every 30 minutes over $400 worth of Kaspa. And whoever owns these two wallets are really damn bullish on Kaspa. So yeah, keep an eye on those two wallets. Just another few things to look out for. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me today, legends. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It really helps support the channel and helps get Kaspa content out there to the masses. Cheers, legends. I appreciate it. I appreciate you, and I'll catch you in the next one.